Here are two common misconceptions that the workers in California often have about workplace discrimination. The first common misconception is believing that if you're treated differently by your employer, by your manager, this necessarily means that you're a victim of discrimination and your employer is violating the law. Sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not true. And this is because being discriminated means that you're being treated differently because you're a member of protected class, because of your age, race, disability, sexual orientation, gender, religion, national origin, and a limited number of other characteristics. If your employer is treating you differently, if your employer disciplines you, demotes you, or terminates you for any other not protected reason, however fair or unfair it might be, generally that would not be illegal. So, the first important thing to remember about discrimination and avoiding this first misconception is that when you say that discriminating means treating someone differently, this is an incomplete and often incorrect definition of discrimination. Discrimination means that you're being treated differently for illegal reasons, for discriminatory reasons. And the second common misconception that many workers out there have is assuming that if you belong to a protected class and if your employer took an action against you, such as disciplining you, demoting you, or firing you, you automatically have a case for discrimination or wrongful termination. When in fact, the critical element in these types of cases is proving that the reason for that action that the employer took against you is the fact that you belong to that protected class. In other words, many people assume I'm black, I'm Jewish, I'm disabled, I'm older, I was fired, I have a case for wrongful termination and discrimination. They forget that they need to prove that the reason that the employer took that action against them, the reason that the employer fired them, is that specific reason, age, race, disability, and so forth, and not some other reason, however unfair and however harsh it might be. And you also have to remember that the burden of proof is on you. The employer doesn't have to prove anything, generally. You have to prove that the reason for your termination is that protected class. You have to prove that the reason for your termination is discriminatory. And this makes sense because otherwise every single person who is fired would have a case, because we all belong to some protected class. We're all men or women, black or white, we all have a certain religion, sexual orientation, and so forth. So the second misconception to avoid is concluding that just because you belong to a protected class and you've been fired, this automatically proves that you've been discriminated against. No, you have to show a link, a connection between your being a member of that protected class and the action that the employer took against you. Thank you.